Perfect. We have our, there we are. So we are live. Today is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. This is the Senate Institutions Committee, and we are here now to discuss the Capitol Complex. We have the members of the Capitol Complex Committee. We have the state curator, and we have the commissioner of BGS, Buildings and Grounds. So let us start with you, Commissioner.
So good afternoon, members. Thank you for having us in to talk about this. I think we're all here to answer any questions. I didn't prepare anything specific for the committee because I'm not quite sure where you want the conversation to go. Because it was the Capitol Complex Commission, we did provide the map. The map that has been handed out to you is the formal commission map, which is identified in statute. So this is really the boundaries based on Title 29. What is it? Title 29, Chapter 6. So this is the overlay of that. And I'll just say to the committee, the complex was created to because of the historic district that is identified here, which this map aligns with our National Historic Register. So that's the connectivity, which is really, really important. And that's sort of, going back in history where none of us were here, which I think was the 70s when this was identified. So that's the connectivity. That's really the background, the simple history on why the Capitol Commission came into place. We do have rules and guidelines, and we focus on the aesthetics and the preservation of the property and the buildings.
Thank you. Is it accurate to say that much of your deliberation and what you look for is historic nature? It's like there are historic preservation boards, and I think you're similar to a historic preservation board.
So so within the guidelines, we have standards that we have set. So the commission looks at any major changes, any additions, paints, flower gardens, anything new that's coming in. And the example that, we haven't been very busy because there has not been a lot that's gone on within the complex. I think, as all of you are aware, since the flooding, there's a new business that's located down on the corner of State Street and Memorial Drive. We did the committee did the review of the design of the I want to say marketing because it's a market, but of the signage on the building and the color. The committee looked at the State House Gardens. I think some of you recognized last year we changed the State House Gardens here and really invested into that, and across the street at GMV. And the committee also, we were presented a proposal by Union Mutual, which is the insurance company, I think probably like 15 months ago, on bringing solar panels in. So the guidelines are really specific on the integrity, the aesthetics. The committee does not look at interior. We work with historic preservation on that. If there was any new construction, and I will give you all a great example because you've heard of this, there's been discussion on an addition for ADA and security here within this building. There would come a point in time where the Capitol Complex would do a review. We try to, on large projects, do preliminary reviews and give feedback so they can take that into their consideration before we bring it back to the final vote.
Okay. And so how do property owners interact with the Capitol Commission and the town of Montpelier?
So I believe we have a very good relationship with the city of Montpelier. When a request comes in, we communicate that they need to, it may be you have to go directly to the city for what it is. We always look for the city permits and approvals before final is given by the complex. And the rules are different. Would you, what Montpelier, I'm looking at the chair.
Yeah. So we're only looking at aesthetics, right? The city's looking at whatever they want to look at, whatever that process is.
Right.
And I agree with Wanda, we do have a really good relationship. That wasn't always the case because probably about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago now, there was a rub because applicants were getting upset because they're coming to us and we were asking them for the permit. They'd never been.
I'm sorry, could you just?
Oh, identify.
Heather Schulleis.
And actually, Heather, I'm gonna have you come up here too, and but it's,
Do you want
there's
me
a
to
couple,
move?
let's, first I wanna hear about state stuff and then,
Yeah,
and then your stuff, if that's okay.
we don't have stuff.
Well, no, or about how the complex committee works. But I just want to ask Wanda another question and then because I'd like to hear from all of you. If you know, whoever wants to speak. Commissioner, there are a couple of buildings that are up for sale. So could you just show those on this and what the status of?
So, oh my gosh, of course, I can't see this. So I'm going to be a little elementary. So this is Baldwin Street right here, which is, following the pink lady. The building that is highlighted right here in yellow is the one we sold that. We haven't updated the map. So that was sold last year. Is that, I always call it the Drew House, and that's 9 Baldwin, I believe, David, right?
9 wrong.
9 Baldwin. And then across the street, this building, and I apologize to everyone who's online, this building right here, which is
14.
14 Baldwin, we've had permission to sell that prior to me coming back to BGS. We keep marketing it. It's a property that just doesn't,
It's challenging building.
it's a challenging building. And then over here, which is 133 across from the pavilion, no, 111 across from the pavilion, David. You know the number.
Yes, shoot,
12.
112. So 112, which is directly across from the pavilion, it's a very historic building. We have authority to sell that. We received authority to sell it, and this is my understanding, Madam Chair, prior to the flood. So we have not aggressively marketed that because we have to determine if the state's going to use it and not sell it, then what we have to invest in it is differently than if someone came in to buy it, depending on what happens with FEMA and what we're required to do. So we have authority to sell that. We are not advancing that at this time until the state resolves. And as you know, we are waiting for a final offer from FEMA. There's a negotiation price, it depends on the 428 or what we're doing with each individual building. And I'm saying this to the committee because it's so critical, because that's got to be finalized as we move into looking at the future of the complex and what we have to address. And so, and I'm not sure if the committee's looking at any changes, but I would say as commissioner, if you are, I would ask that you pause and wait until we finalize with FEMA on the approach that we're taking on the money that we receive. And so because we have to look at the complex holistically as a result of the flooding and how we're going to address things.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand with the volatility, with FEMA being so volatile right now, and particularly with money, and we can, and pausing on that, we're not sure how the length of time. Do you understand what I'm?
So I'm making some assumptions, but I'm gonna respond, Senator.
Please.
So I think it's really important for the committee to know that we've submitted all of our deliverables to FEMA. We have a great team. You all have met with Doug, I think, and talked to him, and he's presented. So FEMA is volatile and laying off people, and what we're experiencing is maybe some delayed responses. We are still engaged. Doug is very engaged with the individuals that remain. And
it's not you it's FEMA that I'm,
That's-
and then it's not,
Yeah.
so I just wanna make that
And
clear.
I don't know the details, but I do know that the Agency of Transportation, maybe a month ago, you know, they're, because they lost the garages and everything on, you probably heard
Right.
testimony on this in Berlin, they're 428. And 428 is a term of how the funding comes in, and the simplest way for me to explain it, how I digest it, is it's fungible money. There may be some restrictions on flood mitigation dollars, I don't know how you use it, but the 428 gives you the ability to have more flexibility in your design and your thinking than just replacing in kind. And that was approved about a month ago, so things are moving.
Okay.
And as I said, Doug Farnham has been engaged, and so everything has been submitted on behalf of the state, and they've asked for clarity, they've come back and requested a different information, and we're responding to it, so it's not silent.
So there is communication and they're responding.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, that building is really important, so I will want to talk about that when you come back in.
Which
Uh,
building?
The building on the corner, that way,
Okay.
or that way. I mean,
I
it's
think it's 110,
one,
actually, 110.
because
I
it,
think 112 is
And so,
the next one.
Madam Chair, I think it would be great probably at some point to pull the language where this committee approved the sale. 'Cause I'm
Yes.
not sure if you put restrictions in that or not. I haven't pulled it in a
right, I
long
just
time.
wanna.
Yeah.
Look at that again.
Okay,
Okay,
anything else?
no, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So,
You're gonna
I
be.
warmed it for you.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Heather Schultz for the record.
thank you. So would you like to introduce, will you just introduce
I'd like
yourself?
everyone-
Want to introduce everybody else, or have them introduce themselves?
We actually have a former state representative who is new, and this is technically your meeting.
Yeah, congratulations.
So why don't we start with Susan? Susan is longest after me.
And what do I say?
Who are you?
How am I?
Who are you?
Who I'm Susan Hayward. Who am I?
From
From
Middlesex.
Montpelier, Middlesex. I've been on the board for a long time. David appointed me to the Friends in 1986. I'm the longest member of the Friends of the State House, but I think I got on this because of Jim Douglas. Because he's the buddy of Catherine's and me. And yeah, I really like this building. I think I did that when we had to come and testify to you.
And you have a degree.
I have a degree in historic preservation.
All right. I just thought I
That's helpful.
nudged that out here.
Yeah.
David Sheets, a curator, not a member of the commission.
I'm Tim German. I was a 6-term rep from Essex Junction, now living in East Montpelier. I'm involved in historical stuff. I coordinated the anniversary of Lafayette's visit to Vermont in 25. Read the resolution in May, last May, and had activities this summer. And now I'm serving as a tour guide in the State House.
Nice.
I'm John Holler. I'm a former lawyer and lobbyist, worked in this building for many years, retired several years ago. Was also mayor of Montpelier for 6 years.
Yeah, the experience that you all have is wonderful. I mean, it's almost as if you were curated as individuals to look at different segments. Okay, master curator. So what I'd like to do now is just hear from you all about how things are going.
I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's one
Yeah,
other
yes.
member.
Hi, Gyra.
Tyra.
Hi, I'm Jara Bellings, member from Woodstock, and my family's been involved with the State House for more than 100 years. And I grew up when my father was Speaker of the House, running around the State House, and so I have a good sense of the whole grounds. And I think it's very important that we keep protecting the historic preservation of the area.
Wonderful, thank you.
Gyra's longer serving sister, I think.
Yeah,
So I remember we talked last year. So if you want to tee off, you know,
So let me
any
just say some of the things that I said
activities.
to you
Yeah.
yesterday. So, and this is my 21st year as chair of the Capital Complex Commission. I'm happy to give someone else a chance if they'd like. And oh yeah. And just for your knowledge, my family was from Montpelier. We owned the country store across from the fire station until it burned down in 2003, which actually then brought me into this building. So Montpelier is near and dear to my heart, and I grew up here and care about what it looks like. And I used to spend a lot of time on the other side of the city, keeping it clean and tidy and being part of the downtown. So it's important to me. When I first started, I felt like the commission was very subjective. We didn't really have any guiding documents. So one of the first things we did, not because I asked, but it was clearly a problem, was we put together a master plan so we have a guiding document. So we're not just subjectively saying, I don't like green and I don't like black.
Right.
It's something that we have to follow and needs to make sure that it looks good in the streetscape and the height and mass. And we typically meet 4 times a year. And pre-pandemic, it was pretty much 4 times a year. Since the pandemic, we've taken on Zoom, which makes it very easy for people like Jira and others to be able to attend the meeting. And we don't have it, I sort of check in, it's very loose. I check in with the commissioner and say, what do we have coming up? Should we schedule a meeting? Something came in last week, for instance. We were going to have a quick Zoom meeting, so we weren't going to wait for the next quarter. We do it sort of when the work is there. And we ended up not having to meet because that building wasn't in the complex. So Zoom has given us a lot of flexibility, and I think it's made us more timely. There are projects like at one point in time, there was lights across the street that were shining on the State House, and we needed to make sure that it wasn't going to be, it was an LED that we moved to. We needed to make sure that it was going to look right. So the commission came down at night, they turned the lights on, we did the visual. Same thing with the Victims Garden down on Baldwin Street. He looked at rocks and fences and you name it. And that was a very long process. But I would say the guiding document, if that's one thing that I'm really proud of when I finally leave the commission, is I think it won't be as subjective as it might have been 25 years ago.
Wonderful.
And the commission changes from time to time, but we always have a Montpelier representation, which I think is super important. And I was very glad that John joined as a former mayor. I think, as Wanda said, he worked hard on keeping a positive relationship with the city. And at one point in time, that took a little bit of work, meetings back and forth, but I think we're in good shape.
Good. Good. Obviously, you're aware of the change in leadership at the city, so
Yeah.
working on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're just basically here to answer any.
All right.
Yeah.
So, do folks have a question? Yeah.
And it's kind of piggybacking on what you just said, how, with that change in leadership, particularly with town manager, how has that been? Has that been a smooth or?
So I think the main crux, other than certain projects that have been tried to be developed, like the parking garage over the years, we don't have to have a lot of interaction. It was really over the permit process. So people were coming to us or not coming to us, which was a bigger problem, saying we have our Montpelier city permits, and then all of a sudden we see work going on. And so that's when we realized we've really got to make this a more formal process and a stepped process. So now the city of Montpelier makes sure that they know we're the first stop, but you've got one more stop before you can start construction. And
Commissioner from.
And if I may, Senator Major, just to respond to that, I'm actually meeting next week with the new city manager. And it's really important. I want the committee to know relationships are very important. And I think we've strengthened them, over time, because we have a partnership with the heat plant. We have a partnership with the Capitol Complex and the permitting. We have a partnership with tourists coming into the historic and working on relationships and getting down there. So it's so I'm looking forward to meeting with her and we'll continue the discussions.
Because that relationship was decades, you've been there for decades.
Yes.
So recultivate that maybe.
That's right.
there used to be a city state commission, right?
There was
A long time ago.
a long time ago.
But that Yeah,
It didn't have to do with what we did. It was separate.
It did planning that went beyond the boundaries of
Right.
the capital
Yeah.
complex.
and I think this realigned and we modified
Right.
the statute because it was probably redundant in some ways
Confusing.
and confusing.
And so that's the question that I do have is, I'm sure you've all noticed the vacant, properties, that way. And then just the potential for redevelopment is great. You know, to that, area and the
Which is
complex.
It's not in the complex, right?
Right, right. So is there has anyone ever thought about increasing the boundary of the complex?
Well, that's what. A lot of it's what.
Down here it is, on this side, but on the other side, like, I'm just, I don't know the city regulations that well. They're probably pretty robust.
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you in my time, and John can certainly add more to this, but the parking lot where the State Workers Park, the now the post office that is, and those are all buildings that the city has tried to do something with, and I think the state's tried to support them in doing that because obviously parking and or commerce is a benefit to everyone. But it really sits with the city because it's not in the complex.
Right, exactly.
And
And
I
I
don't
was
even know
wondering if
if-
there's any interest in,
I mean, I think that would be a city conversation. I just
oh,
don't,
definitely, but
I
I
don't
was,
know how you would change the complex. And it always comes down to pilot, right? Like, so you're losing some tax.
well, I'm not suggesting that the state own the property. I'm just suggesting that we might want some jurisdiction over there, just to make sure that the, it's in harmony. Yeah, thanks, Al. That's great.
Thanks, Alice.
The
You come visit.
fairy godmother.
To come back.
Heather and I work together all the time. You know, it's called,
Okay.
I'm supporting Heather with sweetness.
So sweet swallow you.
Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you.
You sure,
Uh,
Terry made it for me especially? They have
I'm
not.
sure Terry did it.
Okay.
So it looks like the commissioner wants.
Yeah, I think it's really important to go back to what the expectation and the goal of the commission is. So when you think about expansion, the commission would not be influencing the development
Right.
or the permitting. It's again, back to the aesthetics and
Right.
and the one thing that I'd also say, and I don't have an answer to it, but I'd like to know, how does expanding it impact our historic designation? Which I think would be a really good question to ask legally. And I think, and you know, I'm gonna turn to John. I think Montpelier has two really clear avenues for those individuals that want to develop that property.
Well, one thing I was gonna point out is we have a historic review district. And it's a little odd because Montpelier has lots of historic properties, but I believe that the only area that's part of an historic review district is this area up here. I think it probably goes down to Court Street. I know we heard at one point while I was mayor, a lot of concerns from the residents up here who couldn't make, relatively minimal changes to their properties in ways that were really different from otherwise historic properties around Montpelier. So I would just look at that. I was trying to look at that on my phone. I couldn't quite see it clearly on my phone, but anyway, the contours of that district. But it'd be important to know, I think, whether or not that's already encompassed by a historic review. And if there is, I'm not sure it would do much to add that to ours, because then you're really just creating another layer of review for not the same purpose.
Right, right. And I don't want to duplicate, but I just thought, it just seemed interesting to me that there was a lot of protection that way, which is where most of the historic buildings are, but not that way. And even if obviously the buildings if buildings do end up, coming where those, parking lots are, I mean, it's generally that kind of development. You would have parking underneath and then buildings on top. It would just be nice if it was compatible with the State House, because it's kind of one of our entrances. But
Just to follow up
Yeah.
with what John said, Montpelier has the largest historic preservation district in the state.
mhm,
And it's actually multiple districts, some of which, like this one are design control districts. I'm just cautioning you to use historic preservation, which is a more all-encompassing term. Design review
Mhm.
is what you're really
Yes,
talking about.
exactly.
Design review is a control district
Okay,
that needs review. Whereas a lot of the historic parts of Montpelier don't necessarily require that.
okay. All right, well, does anyone have any comments on that or anything else?
I started mentioning some of the things we've done. I mean, that have
That'd be great.
impact on, like the 33 towers that were on top of 133. We've cut that down to 11. Little things like that people might not notice, but that was obnoxious.
What kind of towers?
Antennas,
Oh.
just old utility type things.
What else? More of those kind of.
Do you have photos of what you've done? That would be nice to see.
So I think it's
Some,
important,
yeah.
I don't want to commit to that because we lost so many paper records in the flood. And we scanned and we have some things preserved, so I would guess that there probably isn't.
I have never thrown away anything I've ever gotten from
Our historian.
And hopefully you live above the flood.
I should go through it all and give it to you.
Please.
Yeah.
And Senator,
Central.
kind of thinking out loud, I know at one point in time, John, do you know if Montpelier still has a transportation committee? Years ago.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, even
So
since
I think-
changed.
3 studies of that parking lot have been done, at least 3.
But
I remember when
She has one, we did one, so they've been.
I remember when Governor Scott was Senator Scott, that was his like big thing. He wanted to
Yeah.
get that connectivity
Right.
to the State House.
And I
There's
just
been one
want,
since then that we've had.
I think there's more than 3, but they all come to the same conclusion, no matter what year we looked at them, sort of.
Traffic data shows it's not gonna work.
No, it wasn't that. It was that it was controlled property. Vermont Mutual owns that big parcel and they weren't interested in having.
At one time.
And they had such a large part, without their cooperation, it really didn't make sense. And so that was kind
But
of the end of
the
it.
getting off out to Taylor
That
Street,
was doable.
it was doable, but not great.
It was doable. And so we're all here, I apologize, we're kind of having this conversation here. I think what's important for the committee to know is there have been studies and partnerships with Montpelier. There've been separate ones regarding the pit. At one time, the state was going to purchase a Vermont Mutual and take control of the whole parking lot, and we were developing all of that. There was money appropriated, that project fell through. We have designed the pit multiple different ways. John and I were talking about this, selling air rights, doing development on Court Street. And it always, I think it always came back to money and in some scenarios, control. What I think is important for the committee to know today is, again, with the Capitol complex and with what we are going through with our submissions to FEMA, there is going to have to be flood mitigation. We are going to have to invest in flood mitigation across the street where there are existing buildings and where there are parking lots. So the viability of looking again at the pit is probably going to be extremely critical, because if we lose on one side, we have to gain certain things, on the other side. And that's where, letting this process go through. We've also been in partnership with Montpelier in conversations, and we have been briefed and we know the vision on what they want to do with the post office, and they've been working closely with ACCD, and we know it all connects. So I want to say to the committee, we are working as the administration, BGS, ACCD, very diligently on that, and understand that's probably the future of something. But what that something is, we don't know at this point.
But what's special is protected, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Like the post office, probably
Well,
the theater.
Montpelier is very committed to protecting the post office. And they've worked really hard on that. Well, it's not bad. Okay, well, the meetings that I've been involved in, there's a commitment.
Post office design.
Yeah, but you know, it's, but Montpelier's protecting their I think to your question, the movie theater or the post office or the churches or the historic banks that were down there, I think that's what John, I think, is referencing, is that Montpelier has their own commitment to that.
Also.
They don't need us for it.
Okay, that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Good.
There is a strong historic preservation.
It's,
Undoubtedly.
I totally agree.
Is the post office now full of black mold up to the second floor? Yep.
It's a contaminated site, though.
Yeah.
That's one of the concerns. Okay.
Any other questions from us? Any other comments? This has been very helpful. Thank you for your work.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Appreciate it.
And just
Go
in
ahead.
case you did know, Heather has a tremendous short game on the golf course. That's why I feel.
I believe in it.
To feel that there.
So you
May
make
I
me,
ask, did you beat him?
you make me a better golfer.
Oh,
Said like a true lobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Said like a true lobby.
all right. I
Like a politician.
think we will adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again for coming.
What?
And ma'am, you